I like to give a percentage of my earnings to charity and also other strippers. I recently tried twerking. It was a disaster, and in the end, the doctor couldn't even check my prostate. I used to work at McDonald's, mostly flipping burgers, but we also sold fucking chips as well. I recently got myself a corgi boiler, and that shut the yappy little fucker up for good. Now, I often confuse Americans and Canadians by using long words. Personally, I prefer morning sex, as it's when people are recently bereaved, they're at the most vulnerable. I had a very stressful journey getting here today. All the way, this lorry driver was right up my arse, but it was nice of him to give me a lift. Things I'll do for a Yorkie. And I think that's why it's not for girls, but... No, but look, seriously, it was a long drive, so I stopped for a piss at a little chef, but unfortunately, he ducked at the last second. So I barely splashed his hat. I used to be a fortune teller, but all I ever predicted was really cold winters. Turned out the crystal ball shop had sold me a snow globe. Some cannibals broke into a convent near Coventry. Nuneaton. See? Just... I saw a stripper taking drugs earlier, smoking crack. Yes, and her tits were pretty good. There you go. I bought some fancy pens at a nudist art shop. Felt tips, no, but I touched a couple of bollocks. A Muslim guy bought one of the little houses at the end of our road. Terraced. No, he works in IT, you big racist. So last summer I poured boiling water over all the ants in my garden, and all the uncles were furious, so... In my 20s, I could eat what I like and always get away with it. And then I reached my 30s and people started labelling the food in the office fridge. I had a small part in a porn film once, which is why I wasn't very good at that job. I think if I was to try revenge porn, I'd just post naked pictures of myself online so everybody would know how low my ex's standards really were. One time I nearly had a threesome with my girlfriend and my best friend, and the only thing that stopped it happening was they didn't invite me. Right, and that... See, I was always the last to get picked at school, which is bad enough at games, but even worse at home time. See... I used to go out with a girl from Norfolk, and I used to jokingly call her Six Fingers. You know, I mean, she wasn't inbred, it was just how many she liked. Genuine horror on your faces. Wonderful. I've got a Welsh friend who's a terrible insomniac. He says you can only get to sleep at night by counting sheep, and it always works because eventually he gets horny, has a wank, and nods right off. I like to think I'm a bit like Superman. For example, the other day I changed in a phone box from a man who really needs a wee to a man who's just had a wee. My dad has brittle bone disease, which meant he struggled to bring us up, especially when it came to smacking us. But at least he really meant it when he said, "This is going to hurt me." An estate agent showed me a delightful little semi this afternoon. Women can be very insecure about their appearance, can't they? I once went out with this very, very beautiful Thai girl who constantly wanted reassurance about the size of her penis. I told her it was a good size, you know. My nan always said, "Don't do anything I wouldn't do," which was tricky as that ruled out walking, remembering things and not being racist. I went to see a Polish Pink Floyd tribute band. Not only were they cheaper, but they played The Wall in half the time. My car was making these horrible knocking noises, so I got out to have a look. Turned out I'd run over a Jehovah's Witness. My daughter's started discovering boys, so that'll teach her to dig up the patio. Sex education lessons at our school were pretty weird. The teacher made us shout out rude words to get it out of our system, like bum, willy, cocks, and we had to carry on doing that until he came. Took ages. I'm writing a story about losing your virginity. It's important to always put it in the first person. Our fourth child was called Ivy, and that's because we ran out of names and started using Roman numerals. The circus near me held a competition to find the best contortionist, so I entered myself and won. I was in Waterstones. I heard a guy ask if they had any audiobooks with subtitles. I thought, hang on, that's a book. If I had a motto, I think it'd be Je ne regrette rien. Although, sadly, I don't know what that means, as I mucked about in French lessons, and I wish I hadn't now. I should. When people die and head towards the light, what they don't realise is they've already been reincarnated as a moth. I fisted a ventriloquist once to see how he liked it. My cousin was a heroin addict by the age of 13. It's amazing, isn't it? Kids shoot up so fast these days. If you're ever being strangled to death, why not make the most of it by having a wank? A top tip. A gay friend of mine recently had his arm in a cast. It was the cast of Joseph and his amazing technicolor. I'm quite a sensitive man. I don't mind being held after sex. It's only when they press charges it gets through. Werther's Originals are so horrible, you'd gladly suck your granddad's cock just to get the taste out of your mouth. See, I've gone too far. Doctor, I'm addicted to fucking dogs. Have you tried patches? What's he, a poodle? My nan was 112 when she died. Mind you, a temperature like that would have killed anyone. A gypsy told me I was going to become a grandfather. I said, how could you possibly know that? He said, I've got your daughter pregnant. So they did a big study, and apparently the least sexy place for a woman to get a tattoo is Wigan. Dyslexic friend of mine tried to book a room at an Ibis and ended up blowing himself up for Alan. My girlfriend's arse is like a peach, hairy, and makes a horrible yoghurt. My girlfriend said she wanted to try some new condoms with something special inside to boost her pleasure. I said, oh, what's that? And she said, other men's cocks. One time I got a concussion from being punched in the temple. Mind you, it was probably my fault for calling the rabbi a cunt. I was in the garden with my girlfriend earlier. We saw the 18-year-old girl next door all dolled up, ready to go out clubbing. And my girlfriend said, you know what, at that age, I could really see myself in her, which was weird, because I was thinking the exact same thing.